While much of the Western world is still debating the ethics, logistics, and environmental impact of next-generation mobility, China has already moved past the debate stage and into full-scale execution. What was once a future of flying taxis and electric everything has arrived. Not with a whisper, but with a thunderous roar. China is no longer the fast follower, it's the pace setter. Walk through the cities of Shenzhen or Hangzhou, and the future doesn't just feel near, it feels normal. Driverless taxis cruise silently past bus fleets that hum with electric power. In flood-prone regions, vehicles that float during natural disasters are no longer science fiction. And above it all, in cities like Wuhan, sleek sky trains glide quietly across elevated tracks, reshaping what efficient public transportation looks like. This isn't about catching up to Tesla or duplicating Silicon Valley's best ideas. It's about transcending them. China is building mobility not as an accessory to existing infrastructure, but as the beating heart of a new kind of city, one where transit, tech, and sustainability form an integrated ecosystem. Where the West still tends to tackle innovation in silos, China is stitching it all together into a seamless, future-ready fabric. The shift is seismic, and the implications are global. What was once considered cutting-edge, electric cars, smart grids, AI-controlled traffic, has become table stakes in China's race toward dominance. In doing so, they're not just reshaping how people move, but how the world imagines movement itself. Meet the Yangwang U8, the SUV that floats, spins, and sprints. If you still associate SUVs with bulky, gas-guzzling beasts of the road, the Yangwang U8 will shatter your expectations. Produced by BYD, this $50,000 luxury SUV isn't just another electric vehicle. It's a technological marvel that redefines what's possible in automotive design. Imagine a car that doesn't just survive a flood, it floats through it. Or one that doesn't just turn, it pivots in place like a tank, using independently controlled quad motors. And this isn't just about rugged utility. The U8 boasts supercar performance, rocketing from 0 to 100 km/h in a mere 3.6 seconds. Under the hood, under the floor, is an 880 kilowatt system that combines electric power with a turbo hybrid extender, delivering a jaw-dropping range of up to 1,000 kilometers. Range anxiety? Gone. And inside, the experience feels more interstellar than automotive. With 6 high-definition screens and a 70-inch augmented reality heads-up display that overlays vital data directly onto the windshield. But what truly sets the U8 apart is its purpose. In a world increasingly disrupted by climate change, its amphibious capabilities are more than flashy, they're potentially life-saving. In flood-prone regions, where conventional vehicles are rendered useless, the U8 offers mobility and even rescue capabilities. This isn't just a gimmick, it's a response to the new realities of our planet. In combining performance, luxury, and resilience, the Yangwang U8 doesn't just compete, it creates an entirely new category of vehicle. And in doing so, it signals a fundamental shift. The age of reactive transportation is over. What's coming is proactive, adaptive, and deeply intentional. And it starts right here. Why the floating SUV isn't a gimmick, it's a lifesaver. At first glance, the idea of a floating SUV might sound like a luxury party trick, another bullet point in a high-tech spec sheet designed to wow buyers and dazzle investors. But when viewed through the lens of a rapidly changing climate, the Yangwang U8's ability to navigate water becomes not just useful, but essential. As cities around the world increasingly grapple with unprecedented floods, wildfires, and extreme storms, transportation needs are shifting just as dramatically as the environment itself. In places where heavy rainfall can turn roads into rivers in minutes, the difference between safety and danger can be a vehicle that keeps moving when everything else is stuck or sinking. The U8's amphibious capabilities allow emergency responders to bypass the need for boats and reach stranded individuals swiftly. For first responders, humanitarian organizations, and even militaries, this SUV isn't just about getting from A to B, it's about getting there when no one else can. The rise of such vehicles may also spark the emergence of a whole new EV category, disaster-resilient transport. Investors and policymakers are taking notice. In a world where infrastructure often lags behind environmental crises, vehicles that can adapt are poised to become critical tools, not optional luxuries. BYD has inadvertently tapped into something much larger than consumer demand. They've built a vehicle for the era we're entering. The U8 is a response to more than market trends. It's a response to reality. And it's a reminder that in the face of massive challenges, innovation isn't just about convenience, it's about survival. BYD's meteoric rise, from underdog to world's #1 EV maker. Just a few years ago, few in the West would have recognized the name BYD outside of auto enthusiast circles. Today, it's the largest electric vehicle maker on the planet. With 1.86 million EVs sold in 2022, leapfrogging Tesla's 1.3 million, BYD has evolved from an underdog to a titan. And this isn't a one-off fluke. Their growth is consistent, explosive, and accelerating. Profits have ballooned by over 400% year over year, and their stock has surged 400% over the past 3 years. In just the first quarter of 2023, BYD reported a staggering $599 million in profit. But perhaps most telling of all, BYD isn't merely imitating competitors. It's out-innovating them. From their vertically integrated supply chains to their dominance in battery production, they control nearly every lever of their ecosystem. This control isn't just efficient, it's powerful. It means BYD can innovate faster, respond to crises more agilely, and bring costs down in a way that other manufacturers struggle to match. And as the world shifts its gaze from internal combustion engines to electrification, BYD is increasingly seen not as an alternative to Tesla, but as the new global benchmark. The rise of BYD also represents something deeper, a broader shift in where innovation originates. China is no longer merely a manufacturing powerhouse. It is an engine of invention. BYD's story isn't just about cars. It's about the changing tides of global leadership in technology, sustainability, and economic influence. And if the trend continues, it won't be long before made in China is synonymous not just with scale, but with cutting-edge excellence. China builds an entire SkyTrain in 7 months. Yes, months. If the idea of building an entire elevated train system in less than a year sounds impossible, it's only because we've grown accustomed to delay. In Wuhan, China has defied expectations by constructing a 10-kilometer, fully autonomous SkyTrain in just 7 months, a project that elsewhere would have taken years and multiple rounds of budget overruns to complete. The SkyTrain carries 200 passengers at speeds of up to 60 km/h and runs entirely without a human driver. Gliding above the urban landscape, it bypasses street-level congestion and reclaims space for parks, walkways, and public gathering areas below. This isn't just transportation, it's urban reimagination. The contrast with Western projects couldn't be starker. California's long-delayed high-speed rail has become a cautionary tale of bureaucracy and mismanagement. Meanwhile, China is showing what's possible when ambition meets execution. The Wuhan SkyTrain proves that public transit doesn't have to be stuck in red tape. It can be responsive, efficient, and inspiring. This achievement is also part of a larger pattern. China isn't just making tweaks to old systems, they're designing entirely new ones. Elevated unmanned transit is part of a mobility ecosystem that includes AI-managed traffic, electric buses, and autonomous taxis. Every project is another puzzle piece in a bigger picture. One of cities designed not around cars, but around people. Forget Jetsons, flying taxis are already flying in China. It sounds like something pulled from a cartoon future, but the flying taxi is here, and it's already lifting off in China. The Ehang 266S, a fully autonomous aerial vehicle, carries 2 passengers at speeds of up to 130 km/h with no pilot on board. With more than 2,000 test flights under its belt, including in challenging weather, the aircraft has moved past concept and into active testing in urban environments. With 16 propellers and multiple redundancies, The e-hang emphasizes safety alongside innovation. It's guided by sensors, AI, and preset routes, removing human error from the equation and ensuring reliable, repeatable flights. More than a flashy tech demo, this drone taxi is proving its usefulness with specialized models like the e-hang 276F, designed to extinguish fires in skyscrapers by deploying foam and explosive firebombs. This is not the future, it's the present. Dean, China is already exploring regulatory frameworks and deployment strategies, while other nations are still tangled in hypothetical discussions. The sky is becoming a new highway, and China's vehicles are the first to navigate it. Flying taxis promise to cut 4-hour car journeys into 30-minute flights, transforming mobility for densely populated or infrastructure-poor regions. And China's early lead in urban air mobility signals a future where airspace is as vital as asphalt. While other countries imagine this shift, China is already airborne, proving once again that the pace of innovation is as much about action as it is about ambition. Autonomous vehicles are no longer experimental, they're operational. After flying taxis, you might expect autonomous ground transport to feel like old news. But in China, it's not about novelty, it's about deployment at scale. In Wuhan, over 400 driverless taxis are already operating, not in closed testing grounds, but on real, chaotic city streets. And that number is growing fast, with plans to surpass 1,000 in the near future. This isn't a pilot program, it's the new normal. Passengers can summon a ride through an app, step into a sleek electric vehicle, and initiate their journey with a secure PIN code. The entire experience is quiet, clean, and astonishingly smooth, powered by advanced artificial intelligence that adapts to real-time traffic, construction, and unpredictable pedestrian behavior. What was once a laboratory curiosity has now become a public utility. While Western countries tread carefully, bogged down by legal red tape and consumer skepticism, China is forging ahead, testing, improving, and launching. And with every successful trip, public trust builds, laying the groundwork for widespread adoption. The significance isn't just technological, it's deeply human. Autonomous vehicles offer freedom to the elderly, the disabled, and those underserved by traditional transit systems. They reduce the margin for human error, which causes over 90% of traffic accidents globally. And as these systems refine, they promise to shrink city congestion and pollution simultaneously. From sky to street, China is eliminating the word experimental from future transport. The era of driverless mobility has arrived, not as a prototype, but as part of daily life. The question now isn't if this technology will define the future of urban travel. It's who will lead that future, and China is making its case with every mile. Smart cities in action, how China integrates tech and transit. As autonomous vehicles and air taxis take off, their success hinges on more than just hardware. The real innovation lies in how seamlessly these elements connect within a living, breathing city. That's where China's smart city vision comes to life, an environment where transportation doesn't just exist alongside technology, but is powered by it. In Hangzhou, artificial intelligence controls traffic signals across the city, analyzing congestion patterns and adjusting flows in real time. The result? A measurable 15% drop in traffic delays. In Shenzhen, nearly every public bus and taxi is electric, making the air noticeably cleaner and reducing the city's carbon footprint at a staggering scale. And in Xiong'an, a city being built from scratch, the streets are being designed for autonomous vehicles, powered by 5G and blockchain from the foundation up. This isn't retrofitting the past, it's engineering the future. Where Western cities wrestle with legacy infrastructure and endless zoning battles, China is designing with mobility, efficiency, and sustainability as its cornerstones. And these cities aren't at sterile tech hubs. They're vibrant, human-centered spaces with green zones, walkable neighborhoods, and infrastructure that learns and adapts. The integration of technology and transit creates something greater than the sum of its parts. It allows data to drive decisions in real time, aligning transit systems with actual human needs rather than outdated schedules and assumptions. It's not just smart, it's responsive. As global cities wrestle with climate change, population growth, and crumbling infrastructure, China's smart cities are offering a compelling blueprint. They show that with the right vision and coordination, technology doesn't isolate or overwhelm, it liberates. And once again, China isn't just imagining this shift, it's living it. China's export strategy. This tech is coming for the world. With domestic success firmly under its belt, China is now looking outward, not just to sell cars or trains, but to export entire ecosystems. From high-speed rail systems in Indonesia to smart city frameworks in Africa, China is packaging its technology, expertise, and infrastructure models and sending them abroad. This is not just an economic strategy, it's a quiet revolution in global mobility leadership. Countries across Southeast Asia and even parts of Europe are signing deals to adopt Chinese-built transit systems, complete with autonomous tech, charging networks, and AI-driven traffic management. These aren't one-off sales, they're full-stack solutions, from vehicles to the grid that powers them, from sensors on streets to data centers in the cloud. China is offering turnkey future readiness. For developing nations, the offer is enticing, fast, scalable, and often backed by financing. For wealthier nations, it's a wake-up call. While the US and EU debate policy frameworks and wrestle with regulatory inertia, China is building influence the same way it builds railways, quietly, efficiently, and with relentless momentum. This expansion isn't about selling products, it's about setting global standards. The more countries adopt Chinese systems, the more dependent they become on Chinese updates, support, and innovation. It's technological diplomacy at its most sophisticated, and it's reshaping the geopolitical map of mobility. As China's innovations go global, the question shifts: will others compete, or will they adapt to systems they didn't design? In this new world, infrastructure is power, and China is exporting both. From high-speed rail to maglev, the fastest trains on Earth. Few images capture the pace of progress like a high-speed train streaking across the horizon, and no country has embraced this image more fully than China. With over 38,000 kilometers of high-speed rail, the largest network on Earth, China has transformed how its citizens move across vast distances. But even this impressive feat is only the beginning. Now China is pushing into magnetic levitation, or maglev technology. These next-gen trains float above the tracks, gliding at speeds up to 600 km/h. A trip from Beijing to Shanghai, currently 5 hours by regular rail, could shrink to just 3.5 hours by maglev. The technology is already in advanced testing, and deployment isn't a matter of if, but when. The contrast with Western rail projects is stark. Where the U.S. high-speed rail effort in California is years behind schedule and billions over budget, China's railways stretch further each year, built with astonishing speed and precision. But it's not just about national pride, it's about logistics, economics, and access. High-speed rail unlocks regions, connects smaller cities, and reshapes the flow of commerce. It reduces the carbon footprint of domestic travel while providing a viable alternative to air routes. And with maglev, China is redefining what's possible, moving people faster, safer, and with near-zero friction. This mastery of infrastructure gives China more than just bragging rights. It gives them control of regional mobility, trade routes, and even diplomatic influence. The rails aren't just for trains, they're a spine for 21st century power. Battery supremacy, China's grip on the EV powerhouse. Behind every electric car, drone taxi, and autonomous bus is a battery. And in this race, China is already far ahead. With companies like CATL and BYD leading global innovation, China has seized dominance over the very heart of electric mobility. And it's not just about quantity, it's about chemistry, speed, and scale. These batteries are lasting longer, charging faster, and requiring fewer rare minerals like lithium, which makes them cheaper and more sustainable. Solid-state technologies are already in development, promising to revolutionize range and safety. Hydrogen fuel cell innovation is also accelerating, offering new pathways for heavy transport and long-distance travel. While other nations scramble to secure supply chains or build domestic capacity, China owns the entire pipeline, from rare earth mining and refining to battery manufacturing and recycling. This gives them unprecedented leverage, not just in the EV market, but across the entire tech spectrum. Everything from smartphones to renewable grids depends on battery storage, and China is increasingly the gatekeeper. What's unfolding is more than just economic might, it's strategic dominance. Whoever controls the battery controls the vehicle, the data, and the infrastructure. And by positioning itself at the center, China ensures that its influence charges more than just vehicles. It charges the future. Flying into the future, urban air mobility and city-to-city travel. If short-haul flights are the arteries of global business, China is laying the groundwork for a new kind of circulation: vertical, autonomous, and astonishingly fast. While the EHang 26S is already flying in cities, larger electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, eVTOLs, are now in development, poised to carry more passengers across greater distances. These flying vehicles could reduce 4-hour car rides to 30-minute hops, bypassing traffic, terrain, and aging infrastructure altogether. For sprawling metropolises or island nations, this changes everything. And unlike traditional air travel, these vehicles require minimal runways, use renewable energy, and operate quietly enough for urban use. China's advantage lies not only in the tech, but in the regulatory head start. While most nations are still crafting policies, China is testing routes, collecting data, and prepping infrastructure. Think vertiports instead of bus stops. Think air corridors instead of lanes. This is more than convenience. It's an urban planning revolution. Flying vehicles won't just supplement current systems. They'll redefine what cities look like and how they function. Commutes will shrink, accessibility will grow, and the divide between rural and urban could start to fade. As countries dream of aerial mobility, China is already building its skyways. The race is no longer on the ground, and China is leading in the air. Why China's mobility revolution threatens US dominance. It all adds up to something far bigger than transport. With 6.9 million electric vehicles sold in 2022, more than the next 10 countries combined, China isn't just building cars, it's reshaping the architecture of global power. Every electric bus that rolls through Shenzhen, every driverless taxi in Wuhan, every maglev test in Shanghai, they're not isolated innovations. They're pieces of a deliberate, large-scale strategy to lead the world into the next era of mobility. To China, mobility isn't just an industry, it's a foundation for influence. It's economic, environmental, and geopolitical all at once. By mastering high-speed rail, building autonomous cities, dominating battery supply chains, and exporting fully integrated infrastructure packages, China is creating a world where movement itself flows through its designs. The result? A network of technological dependencies that extend far beyond trade. They become strategic leverage. Contrast this with the United States, where transportation remains deeply siloed and often politicized. Projects stall for years in legislative gridlock, and investment is reactive rather than visionary. The US still thinks in terms of automakers and highways. China is thinking in terms of ecosystems, supply chains, and vertical integration. This isn't just about who builds the best car or fastest train. It's about who defines the standards, owns the patents, supplies the parts, and writes the rules. China's infrastructure exports are more than products. They're Trojan horses of influence. Once adopted, they shape how cities grow, how data flows, and how people move for decades. The stakes are high. If the US and its allies fail to offer a competitive alternative, they may find themselves locked out of the most transformative economic opportunity of the century. Global influence in the 20th century was shaped by oil and highways. In the 21st, it will be shaped by batteries, rails, and algorithms. The transformation isn't just coming, it's already here. The only question left is whether others will build alongside China or find themselves passengers in a vehicle they no longer control.